Here you go. If you could just set that up so people can see you on there. You should see yourself now. Sorry for being late. I just saw your message. ETA?
I was just confirming that you were coming and not calling in.
Yeah, I'm coming. Have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? Yes, that's Katie French bringing us into the Beauty and Barber Shop this morning on KABF 88.3 FM. Have you heard? Originally by the GMWA Mass Choir. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment. But first, we want to say thank you so much for stopping right here at 9 o'clock every Saturday morning for the Beauty and the Barber Shop with your co-host, Zachary Crow, and usually your co-host, Wendell Griffen. But today you got the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise, and I'm so excited to be in the number. It's always good to just be in the number. But before we get started, we want to make sure that you know how grateful we are for you. We continue to think about the upcoming celebration of our 40 years at KABF 88.3 FM, celebrating a 100,000-watt local community radio station where we are here to enlighten, to educate, to inform, to engage, to push, to challenge, to make sure you have everything you need on this quest, on this journey to a collective liberation. We've been here 40 years, and it's only because of you. And so we want to say thank you for every way that you show up. Whenever it's Players Drive, you hear Tony always saying, oh my goodness, y'all still giving to Players Drive, and we're grateful for that. But we want you to know that we're grateful for every other resource that you offer. When you send us information about what's going on in the city, when you send us information about what you're upset about in the city, when you send us information about what you're upset about in the studio, when you show up in the spaces when we invite you to engage and you are right there present with us every time you show up in any way, we are grateful for you and we are grateful for that. I do have a couple of announcements I want to make. Well, probably just one. I want to make sure that you know that the Community Talent Show at Dunbar Magnet Middle School Food at 1100 Right Avenue is happening on May 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. This is for you to come and share your talent with the world. First place, $500. Second place, $300. Third place, $150, and adults and youth will be they will be judged separately. So you don't have to worry about competing with people outside of your gift range, right? We don't expect a 5-year-old to be able to do what a 25-year-old could do. So we are making sure that we are equitable in that way. And there is a way that you can sign up to audition. And if you need more information about that, you can call Charles right here in the station at the office 501-372-6119. You can call us in the studio at 501-433-0088, or you can hit me up directly at 228-236-7440. Before we go any further, I'm not really sure how the protocol works in here, but I know you need to hear from Zach. Zach, bring us this moment.
Oh, it's so good to be here. It's so good to have you with us. I have been doing a lot of traveling, and so it's good to be back in the studio, and it's good to be with you. You're bringing the energy this morning. I appreciate it. And we got all kinds of mess to talk about. I don't know if you've been following your Arkansas news, but we're going to have some stuff to dig into today.
And that's what we're going to get into. That's why I started with Katie French. I started with her because I know a lot of people that are local, a lot of people that are Southern, a lot of people that are Black, a lot of people that are people of color, a lot of people that are just born in this region consider themselves to be Christian. And so Katie French brings us in just praising and worshiping, wanting to know, have you heard? Do you have the news that you need to understand that there is a man that they call Jesus? And this man can make sure that you are set free. That's what she says. He died so that you can be free. And so she wants to know, have you heard? And I don't know about you, Zach, but I used to be in that space where all you had to do was say Jesus and something happened in my body. All you had to do was say hallelujah and I would start getting chills up my spine. All you had to do was let the note play. All you had to do was let somebody hum a little bit and I would take off in my body. I would be slaying in the spirit. I'd be shouting in the aisles. I'd be speaking in tongues. I would be doing all of those things because I'd be so excited because I would start to reflect on my life and think about the goodness of God in my life and the gospel, which means the good news, and I'll think about all the things that God had done for me. And I would start to preach to myself. Denise, remember when you thought you couldn't make it? Remember when you thought you were so down on your luck there was no way out? Do you remember when there was so much violence in your home you weren't sure you were going to survive? And who was there? It was Jesus. And I would get all excited and I would preach myself happy about the news about Jesus. And then I would pray that Jesus would give me an opportunity to be used so that somebody would come along and I can ask them, have you heard about a man? And that was the only news that I wanted to share with anybody. Have you heard about this man? And so I'm not going to knock that way of life because, as I said, it used to be mine, and I get it. And I'm not trying to say you shouldn't be that way. All I want to know is that the only news you got to share? Is that the only news that you have that can lead a person to liberation? Is that the only news that you know that can help set somebody else free? Is there something else that we can be talking about when we meet each other in the grocery store, when we see each other at the post office, when we just walking down the street headed to the bagel shop? Is it possible that there is other news happening in and around us where we can ask somebody, have you heard about what's going on in your midst? Let's talk about it, because I believe that there's a way that we can get set free if we talk about this news. And I believe, Zach, that this is the news that you are referring to. I think that it's the news that you are referring to because I know for a fact that we got some shenanigans going on with the governor of Arkansas, with the governor of Texas, with thinking about yesterday being the 70th anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education. Like, there's so much news in our midst that we must engage in a deep and profound way so that we can make sure that we understand there is a way that we can be free that don't have nothing to do with us going to church. It has to do with us being engaged in our local community, in our local politics, so that we can put our feet to the ground, so that we can be boots on the ground, put our feet to the plow, have hands on the plow, and do the work in the city, do the work in the community, because people need to be set free. And are you referring to one of those?
I mean, I've got a list, and we can deal with all or some or one of these. But before I start, I think, as you said, there's a lot of oppression coming out of the Arkansas legislature these days and out of the governor's mansion. But I got some hope and I got some joy because people are still out there resisting, and so folks aren't rolling over, and I think there's a lot of hope that can be found in that. A couple of things, and I'll just lay them out quick for folks if people want to call in and talk about something specific, if you want to dive into something specific. But I've got 4 articles here, all similarly related, and most of them dealing, or 3 of them dealing with public education. So let's just dive right in. As folks know, we are dealing with this Arkansas Learns Act, and some folks have introduced an amendment that I hope you've signed, that would require public schools to accept public funding in the form of school vouchers to meet the same academic standards as public schools. But Jim Walton, of all, unsurprisingly perhaps, CEO of Arvest Bank, Walmart Air, has dropped $500,000 on trying to stop this proposed constitutional amendment, and so the other side is dropping money. The second thing I wanted to mention this morning is this order from the governor, I believe. Act 637, a legislative act that would require public schools to teach pro-adoption and anti-abortion lessons by the end of the school year. This would be mandated in all public schools. And then that's the public education stuff. The Arkansas Supreme Court also greenlit a bunch of laws that make voting a lot harder in our state. We could talk about that. We could talk about the fact that more tax cuts are coming. But that feels those are the things I've been following this week. I don't know about you, Denise.
Well, I want to just take a moment when you say that you're filled with hope because there are people out there who are still resisting, and that gives you hope, and that absolutely is a cause for us to be hopeful. I want to be transparent with people, though. Hey, Keith Harper, I see you on here on Facebook. Woo, you got to call and tell us how it went with the Black Box. Especially Wednesday and Thursday, the Black Box was featured at Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, and Keith was the principal actor in that. So we are interested in how that went. I want to hear from Delisa. She won one of the free tickets. Want you to call in and let us know, how did it go? How did you enjoy it? What was your experience? But when you talk about people resisting, I want us to be crystal clear that protesting is not an equitable practice. Protesting is not something that we can say, if you resist, that the consequences of your resistance are going to be the same no matter who you are, because it is not. I was thinking about the woman who resisted. She was a librarian, a director of a library. She decided to resist the ban on books. And she said, because I resist, even though she was resisting, people were calling her pedophiles because the books that were being banned primarily talked about LGBTQIA plus experiences, talked about Black experiences, Black meaning any member of the African diaspora, talked about sexuality, talked about all those things. And she said, no. I refuse to do that, because the library is a place where you should have access to all stories, because when we share those stories, we learn more. When we learn more, we can do better, right? So she refused to do that. And she resisted to the point that she was terminated for her job. And now she's receiving $10,000 from Lemony Snicket, who is that's the pen name of an author. He's given $10,000 for this award because they want to reward her for her resistance. But then I'm thinking, that made me, she's a white woman, and so she's being rewarded for her resistance. But the governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening and there were protesters, one of them got killed. The ultimate sacrifice, lost his life. And even though they arrested the law enforcement officer that killed him, he has now been pardoned.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so those who were resisting at the Black Lives Matter movement, not only did they lose their life, but then the person who killed them, who murdered them, now has impunity. They got away with it. So this person resisted and was not treated the same way as this white woman who resisted and is now getting $10,000. Yeah. So we are asking you to put your body on the line. We are asking you to do everything that you can. We are asking you to put boots on the ground, but we are also asking you to consider the cost, because there is a cost to resistance. How much are you willing to pay? So I wanted to put that out there when you talk about resistance.
For sure. And we know that resistance takes. My phone died. We think we lost the live stream, but I'm hopeful. I don't know if my cord's not working or not, but it says it's charging.
It doesn't say it's charging. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Resistance looks. We see all kinds of resistance in all kinds of forms. I talk about resistance, and we've raised protest as one tactic, but history all the way from chattel slavery in this country through Reconstruction, through the 60s, we see all kinds of resistance. Some of that looks like mobilization, the mobilization of Dr. King. Some of it looks like the work of Fannie Lou Hamer, and those were very different forms of resistance, very different forms of organizing, and I think there's room for all of that. So when I talk about resistance, I of course mean showing up and putting your body on the line and being in the street. But that's not the only way folks are taking a stand, and so I appreciate folks who are showing up in all of their capacity and in all of their different ways.
Keep going.
Yeah. Again, I wanna also talk a little bit about some laws. We know we're in a particularly pivotal year. We've got a presidential election coming up. We've got lots of important local elections this year, and our Supreme Court has upheld 4 laws from 2021 that were being challenged. And all of these, I don't know that we need to necessarily dive in, but all of these are making voting in Arkansas more difficult. And so we know that folks have power, and that there's a lot of people power to be had here in Arkansas if folks would get out and vote, and the state knows that too, and are trying to keep us from exercising that
and I think
right. And so we know that every time the people show up, there's resistance, there's moves, and then there's counter moves by the state. Absolutely. And then this is just another one of those. And so we keep on moving.
Yeah, I want to say right there that when we talk about the anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education decision, which declared racial segregation in public schools to be unconstitutional, and then we think about what happened recently right here at the Second Baptist Church. They had a viewing of the unveiling of the statue of Daisy Gaston Bates, who was the NAACP field secretary. She was also a mentor to the Little Rock Nine, who integrated Central High School right here in our state in 1957. And so there were so many people in that space showing up to celebrate the work that she did, showing up to honor the Little Rock Nine. And we really don't tell the part of the story about the Little Rock Nine, about all the abuse their bodies experienced, mind, body, soul, and spirit, all the abuse that they experienced, their families experienced, our communities experienced with that act of resistance, them going in to integrate that school. And so we had all of these people, all these dignitaries showing up, everybody putting them pictures on Facebook, you had pictures on Instagram, everybody commenting about what a glorious opportunity it was. Some white reporter even likened it to being in Black church because it was so much celebration in the room. And so here we are celebrating a woman who says that we know that it is important for us to make sure that Blackness does not get lost. It's important for us to make sure that Black people have an opportunity to be their full selves, who they were created to be, without any obstruction, whether it's in the field of education or any other field. Here we are celebrating this Black woman who was mentoring these people, because in Statuary Hall in DC, there is now a statue, but these are the very same dignitaries who turn around and go into the legislative session and renege on all of the promises they say, or all of the fake stuff that comes out of their mouth when they are in spaces like this. And so I think it's important for us to when you said when we look at these moves, we have to watch how they're moving, because just because they show up in a space and say, "Oh, this is great," that doesn't mean that they are for us.
We had the governor speaking from her, I don't know, $19,000 podium or whatever ridiculousness, praising Daisy Bates, while at the same time trying to restrict any conversations about race or the history of race in this country from public schools, right? And so you simultaneously had Sarah Huckabee Sanders praising Daisy Bates at the unveiling of this statue, while trying to pass laws that would prevent the teaching of that history in public schools.
Exactly. And so we can, sometimes I think, especially as Black people, we are wooed and we are wowed when certain people show up in our spaces, especially when we consider them to be, dignitaries. So, oh my goodness, the governor was there. But you got to pay attention to how the governor is moving. And the only way you can pay attention is that you are engaged. And so that's what KABF is all about. It's about making sure that you are engaged. And the Beauty and the Barber Shop brings you this information so that you can engage, so that you can be informed, so that you can know. And so now she's saying, okay, well, we're not going to allow you to talk about Blackness. We're not going to allow you to talk about the historical accuracy of our country. We're going to deny you any opportunity to learn who we are as a country, from the slaughtering and displacement of First Nation people to the enslavement of members of the African diaspora. That is, historical. Like, we got facts, we got data, we can prove it. We're not going to let you talk about that, but we are going to mandate that you talk about being pro-adoption. Right? And I don't think anybody would argue with the need for there to be an adoption process, right? But along with the adoption, that the students are supposed to have 1 hour of education about being about pro-adoption. But along with that, there's also supposed to be conversation that's mandated to happen at the end of this year about why adoption is preferable to abortion. And so they have some curriculum idea that says, okay, you must do this, but there's nothing that gives you any kind of substance to what the conversation is even supposed to be about. You're leaving it up to the educators to figure it out for themselves, what they're supposed to be saying about why why adoption is preferable to abortion. So you're forcing and mandating and making people comply with stuff you don't know nothing about, because people who don't understand the termination of pregnancy, that's really a better way of saying it rather than saying abortion. You don't even understand the science. You don't even understand the medicine. You don't even understand the biology of it. You don't know what you're talking about, but you're making people talk about that. But when we have data, when we have information, when we have lived experiences, when we have stories, that you want to ban. Help me understand. It does not make any sense. So we got to stop why do we even invite the governor to speak about Daisy Bates? Why do we even invite her? We got to stop doing stuff like that. We have to center those voices that we know are pushing us forward on this journey towards collective liberation. We don't owe the governor nothing just because she's the governor. We don't owe anybody anything just because you have a title. We are about making sure we support those people who have all of us in mind in the work that they do. That's what I believe. Yeah. So we can also talk about, when you talk about the Lawrence Act, talked about Daisy Bates, I do want to talk about just a little bit. I want to hear what you think about the governor pardoning the man who killed the protester that was at the Black Lives Matter movement, like Governor Abbott. And the reason I feel like I want to talk about it is because this man is the governor. How do you get to become the governor? How does Sarah Huckabee Sanders get to become our governor? She became our governor because we the people, like somebody gonna say, I ain't vote for her, but we the people, if you part of the people, we have a process by which we make our voices heard, and that is through the ballot box. So the majority of us people voted for her to get into office. That's how she got there. That's how Governor Abbott got to be governor, because the majority of the people in Texas voted for him, and these are the kinds of moves that they make. And so when people say it don't matter how we vote, it absolutely matters, because if we don't vote, we end up with these kinds of leaders, and we spend a lot of time complaining about what they're doing, not realizing that the power is in our hands. We are the ones who have to make sure that we vote the people in office who are going to do right by us. Sarah Huckabee said, how long has she been in office now? Maybe 2 years. I don't even know. It ain't even been long. But she's already proven that she is not for all of the people. So we have to be careful how we vote. And then you have to think about the fact that Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I don't believe ever would have thought about running for governor if Trump had not said you ought to be governor. Would you agree with that? Hey, I don't think she would have. And so the majority of us are following this cult personality of former President Donald Trump. And so we listen to anything that he says to our own demise. And so we've got to make sure that we continue to center voting. So Zach, when you said that there's a Lawrence Act petition that we're trying to sign to get on the ballot, do you know where people can go to sign it? Do you know, is there an event that they can show? Like, how can we get people there?
So there are multiple ballots in addition to that one, and I know there have been lots of signings where all of those more progressive ballots are at the same table at the same place. I don't know of a list or where they are next, but I imagine that information is relatively available, and I will look for it.
Oh, I absolutely have a list, and I'll share it with you.
Please do.
And I also want to let you know that I don't have the petition for the Arkansas Lawrence Act, but I do have the petition for the Arkansas Abortion Amendment that we're trying to. Yes. So we're asking people to sign the petition to put it on the ballot for the people to decide. The petition is not asking you, do you agree with abortion? I think we need to change our language. The petition is not asking you, do you agree that people ought to have a right to make their own decisions about their reproductive health? That's not what it's asking you. Do you agree with that? It's asking you to put it on the ballot so that the people can decide who has the right. So we need enough signatures, because again, what did you say earlier? That the people move, and then the government does this counter move. So the government said, well, we want to make it harder for you to put things on the ballot. And the people said, no, having to get signatures from 15 counties, that's enough of a ballot. And then, so we voted, no, leave it like it is. And then they did a counter move where now we have to have signatures from 50 counties. And so I have this petition for us, and I want to talk more about it in just a minute. Let me get this call. Caller, you're live on the air. What's happening?
I don't know if that was feedback from
the phone,
from their phone or from our system.
I don't know. Try again, caller. Try again. But I have that petition, and I'm leaving here at 10 o'clock. I'll be at Pyramid by 10:30. Pyramid Art, Books, and Custom Framing on 1001 Right Avenue. So anybody want to show up to sign that petition, I'll be right there today at 10:30. And in just a minute, I'll give you some places where you can go for that particular the ballot initiative. Again, we're asking you to sign to get the ballot, get it on the ballot for the people to decide who should have the right? Should the government be telling us what we can do with about our reproductive health, or should that be the decision that each individual gets to make along with those who surround them in their circle of care? So Phyllis Brown says, you did see the pictures of the Black Arkansans at Statuary Hall with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That's defeating and depressing. You did see the pictures of the Black Arkansans at Statuary Hall with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That's defeating and depressing. So what would be the point of that picture? What are you saying to us with that picture? Especially, we just said that this woman is doing everything that she can to suppress your existence as a Black person, so to suppress your history, to suppress your ancestry, to suppress all of that, and continuing to suppress your voice by the voter suppression that she supports. But you want to show up and take a picture so you can put it on social media? Give me a break. Calling you live on the air, KABF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling. This is the Beauty and Barber Shop.
Yes, I was calling to add to the conversation that you were having this morning. My name is Dale Charles. You asked the question, why was the governor invited? She was there because the protocol called for the governor of the state of Arkansas to be there. It was not from anybody personally inviting her. That was just not the protocol for her to be there. However, you asked the other question about how did she get there. She got there because majority of the people in Arkansas, Republicans especially, wanted to vote for a woman and also to support Donald Trump. And you talked about the case down there, Black Lives Matter, Greg Abbott, a commuted man. The man had gotten 27 years, and he commuted him the sentence so he walked free. This goes to show you how much racism is still alive and well. It's the big difference that we that are not registered to vote should make sure we get registered so that we can vote in November. I was looking at CNN and MSNBC yesterday, and in Detroit and other places, there's a lot of black men under the age of 40 saying they're going to support Trump over Biden. And you ask the question, why would anybody in their right mind, black people, have that concept when Trump don't care about nobody but himself, and you're going to go out and support a man that doesn't even care about you? That is ludicrous. But this is where we are today. We're not informed and we're not educated enough in order to understand what the issues are as today. And then you also said that Daisy Bates was not the secretary. She was the NAACP State Council president during the 57 crime.
Okay, thank you for that correction.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about mega M's. Thank you so much. Sometimes I do get my facts. Thank you so much, Mr. Dale Charles. That's what he said his name is. Thank you so much for those comments. And Zach, you said something at the very beginning. You said that there are, I'm hopeful because there are people out there who are still resisting. And so Dale Charles reminded us that there wasn't necessarily a black group or any particular group that said that they wanted to invite Sarah Huckabee Sanders to the unveiling of the Daisy Bates statue, the virtual viewing of it that was happening in Statuary Hall in Washington, D.C. It was protocol. Okay. But so what I'm saying is, okay, I understand that, and I can definitely see that. I'm not arguing that at all. What I am saying is it's time for us to get rid of protocol. Like, there's no reason for us to continue to follow these rules or follow these guidelines or follow these expectations when we know that they don't serve us. So even if it is protocol, are we willing to say, I ain't got to do it? Are we willing to, because you said resistance looks different, right? There are different ways to resist. Everybody doesn't have to be in the middle of the street blocking traffic. Everybody doesn't have to be holding up a sign and chanting. Everybody doesn't have to be in a suit in the legislative arena. Everybody doesn't have to be writing letters. Everybody doesn't have to be recruiting people to sign. Some people can say on the inside, when they're having these conversations at the table about how we're going to design this event, somebody in that room can say, we don't have to invite the governor because we can resist. We have the power. The people hold the power. We have the power in our hands. We don't have to do it. So even though he said that it was proper protocol to do it, and that's why they did it, explain why the Black Arkansans took the picture with her. Was that protocol too? That didn't have nothing to do with protocol. We chose to do that. And so the Black people who are saying, I'm going to vote for Trump, you taking this picture with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that's the message you sending to me too. You right, you're aligned with her. I agree with her. Look at me with her. I want to be all, every time you see her, I want you to see me because we friends like that. Then what does that say about your politics?
You know, I mean, what that raises for me is fascists love a good photo op. Trump wants the Latinos for Trump and the Black, Americans for Trump, and they want to wave the they want a dog whistle while also trying to claim they're not racist, and so that has always been the case, and so I think there's this reality in which, out of that same vein, Sarah is always looking to weaponize people of color for her own aims, whether that's through a photo or some other way.
Yeah, and it's interesting because now when you see Donald Trump, he's holding up the fist. Have you noticed that lately, especially since he's been with these in these legal battles? When he's taking a picture, he holds up the fist that has usually meant Black power, right? Yeah. And when Black people, particularly those members of the Black Panther Party, when they would raise their fist, they were considered militant. They were considered thugs. They were considered people who were to be feared. They were people that you wanted to be, that you considered to be your enemy. But now you got Donald Trump holding up the fist, and we have Black people saying, "Oh, look, he holding up the fist," like that's some kind of good thing. I didn't even know that Phyllis Brown was saying this when I said it, but listen to Phyllis Brown. She says, it was protocol for Sarah Huckabee Sanders to attend the unveiling of the statue, Mrs. Daisy Bates at Statuary Hall. However, it isn't protocol for Black Arkansans to pose with pictures with her, pose for pictures with her. Now, that isn't protocol. And so again, we have to check ourselves and what it is we are doing. I also want to make sure that you have this information that Dr. Anika Whitfield has sent to us about where you can sign for the act that you talked about, Zach. I'm talking about the Abortion Amendment Act, and you can meet me over at Pyramid right after this around 10:30, and you can sign there. But here are some places where you can sign. These are permanent signing locations. The Healing Clinic, 4 Office Park Drive, Little Rock, 72211, Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Healing Clinic. Paper Heart Books, right here on 420 East 21st Street, Little Rock, 72206, Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Arkansas Times, 201 East Markham Street, Suite 150, Little Rock, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Access Rehab, 2902 Keel Avenue, Suite 3 in Sherwood, Monday and Wednesday, 8:30 through 4 o'clock p.m. Olive Loom, 421 North College Avenue in Fayetteville, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pearl's Books, 28 East Center Street, Fayetteville, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sunday, 10 to 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Arkansas Justice Reform Coalition, 205 North College Avenue in Fayetteville, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2. Smoke Glass Boutique in Fayetteville, Two Friends Bookstore and Cafe in Bentonville, McKinney Tax Service in Glenwood, Southern Home Furniture and Interiors in DeQueen, Garland County Library in Hot Springs, Castle Antiques in Ashdown, Jansen's Lakefront Restaurant in Edgemont, Main Street Florists and Gifts in Clinton, and Vote Soar Office in Hope. I had to stop giving all the information because there's so many places. Y'all got to call us. Y'all got to call us and get this information. If you in Fayetteville, if you in Glenwood, if you in Hope, if you in Hot Springs, if you in Little Rock, we got a place for you to sign until you can make sure that you get your name, this petition, this ballot measure on the ballot.
So Denise, are you reading off of a flyer or a website? Is there a place people can go for this full list?
Absolutely. 4rkids.org. FORARKIDS That's FORARKIDS.org.
All right. So maybe you're driving down the road. Maybe you ain't got a pen or a piece of paper. Maybe you don't want to pull over to write some of this down, but maybe you can remember 4AR Kids. And that's how you can get to this list.
For Arkansas Kids.
Okay.
That's what it stands for, Arkansas Kids. And those of you who follow me on Facebook, I have a public page, so you don't have to be my friend to see my page. I will also include that list on the Facebook along with a link to this conversation so that you can hear it over and over again, so that you will have all the information that you need to be engaged. What we don't want anybody to walk away from any of our talk shows is to say, I didn't know about it. I didn't know where to go for that. I didn't know how to get involved. I didn't know how to be engaged. Now, there's no such thing, not coming from KABF 88.3 FM. The question is not, did you know? The question is, what did you do with the information that you found out, that you learned? That's going to be the question. The question will not be, what have I heard? The question is, what are you doing with what you have heard? Because that's what we're asking you today. We started with KD French asking, have you heard? So we want to know, have you heard the news? We're giving you the news that can set you free. She's talking about Jesus. We're talking about your politics. We're talking about your vote. We're talking about how you show up in public spaces. We're talking about the hypocrisy, the complicity that we show sometimes between what comes out of our mouth and what we do with our bodies. So we have to make sure that we are in alignment with what we say. We got to make sure that we walk the talk, because the talk really ain't important if you ain't walking it. At least not to me. At least not to me. Reverend Griffen did also send a, what do you call it that he does to the
a press release, an announcement.
It's an announcement
about this event. Is that what you're referring to?
Which event are you talking
about? Okay, I think Judge wanted us to
he said this whole
announce an event. He did send that to Judge wanted some options in the room.
Oh, okay.
And so Judge said a lot. Judge said a lot. So I think we're talking about two separate things. Why don't I make the announcement, and then we can look at what you're talking about.
Okay.
So there's an event, New Millennium Church, which is a sponsor of this hour, will be celebrating 15 years of ministry on the weekend of June 1st through 2nd. So 1st through 2nd. And are inviting the public to a free panel discussion on women in ministry on Saturday, June 1st from 2 to 4 at the Kendall Center on Philander Smith University's campus. So women in ministry, Philander Smith, June 1st from 2 to 4. There's a flyer that you can reach out and ask for. We've got Reverend Dr. Teresa Smallwood coming in to speak, but also several local panelists, and again, that information is the first 2 to 4, Philander Smith, and then Dr. Smallwood will be preaching during New Millennium's anniversary worship service at 9 a.m. on Sunday the 2nd. So Judge asked us to make that announcement. We're so appreciative of our folks over at New Millennium Church that help sponsor this hour every week.
Right, and they will be in that conversation, that panel discussion, and probably even too. I'm kind of confident in saying probably also her message is rooted in the book by Renita Weems, Reverend Renita Weems, that's called "Sister Away." Just a Sister Away, a womanist vision of women's relationships in the Bible. And so those women, they're going to be women on that panel talking about what it means to be women in ministry, and how what those interactions and those experiences are about. So absolutely want to make sure that you know that that's happening on June 1st at 2 o'clock. We're going to try to get her here in the studio. We're going to try to get her in the studio.
So Reverend Smallwood has been on this show a few times by phone, but never in the studio. So we'll see if we can't make that happen either here or on your hour or somewhere on KABF. Maybe we can make that happen.
We're going to try our best to make that happen. I want to get this comment in from Phyllis Brown. Antoinette, how would you pronounce this? Grajeda? Jeda Grajeda. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of the last name. I don't mind being corrected, just like Dale Charles corrected me on Daisy Bay. She was not the field secretary for the NAACP, like I said. So yes, please correct me if I'm getting this wrong. But she reported in the Arkansas Advocate, quote, "The local celebration," and she's talking about the one at Second Baptist Church on John Barrow, "preceded the formal ceremony in Washington, D.C., at times felt like a proper church service as speakers offered prayers and song and praised God for the historic occasion. Guests inside the worship center responded with applause, amens, and shouts of approval," end quote. That's classic gaslighting and devalue of Black people and their manner of praise and worship, which is interesting because I started out our show today with praise and worship from KD French. And if you look up this video, it's KD French singing "Have You Heard?" You will see a block with 9 faces. And immediately when you look at the block, it looks like there are 9 different people like forming a choir to sing. But as I continue to look at the video, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. Is this the same? Is this the same woman? So she's singing every one of those parts, the soprano, the alto, the tenor part. She's also singing the lead. She's doing this all by herself. So when you hear her talking about hallelujah, when you hear her talking about thank you, Jesus, when you hear her saying yes, 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 she's praising all by herself. She's talking to herself. That's what she's doing. And so that is symbolic to me of what, when we think about, have you heard the news, us Black Christians, we want to make sure we're talking about Jesus, and we get ourselves all worked up, and we get ourselves all into a frenzy, and we walk out into the world, and we want everybody to know that we know Jesus, when really what we need to do is show up as Jesus. And if you're going to show up as Jesus, Jesus is a revolutionary. Jesus wasn't somebody who was taking pictures with the enemy. Jesus isn't someone who was following proper protocol. Jesus isn't someone who's allowing people to make mockery of the way that we worship in our bodies, because that's what is in there from way down deep. Jesus said, I am not afraid to stand outside of the temple and call it what it is. This is a den of thieves. These are hypocrites. These are snakes and vipers. If you're going to show up like Jesus, then you got to be a revolutionary. I don't think we preach Jesus as revolution. I know y'all do at y'all church. But we too busy singing to ourselves. We too busy praising to ourselves. We too busy wording. I was in a conversation yesterday with a group, and a Black man said, I don't care nothing about you, save Jesus and him crucified. I said, but wait, what? You don't care nothing about me. So if I don't have Jesus, you don't care nothing about me. I'm like, what are we talking? How is that a demonstration of what it means to be faithful? How is that a demonstration of what it means to follow Christ? Some of us are following Christ to hell. That's what we're doing, because we're not realizing that the way, because it wasn't called Christianity, the people who were believers in this ministry, they were followers of the way, and they put their bodies on the line. They came together as a collective. They pooled all of their resources so that there would be no lack, so that the people would be able to live justly. The people would be able to live inclusively. The people would be able to live the abundant life. That's what it's all about. And I think we've lost that. I think we've turned from our first love, so to speak.
I mean, just to be really clear, I think that most folks who want to claim the name of Jesus would crucify him today too, or lynch him, or shoot him at a protest.
Absolutely.
Run him down with their car.
Absolutely.
Right. And
suppress his right to vote, deny him access to health care, not teach him adequate education. Yeah.
Jesus over here trying to heal folks while folks would be passing bills to make that illegal. We can't heal folks for free.
What?
we can't have affordable health care, Jesus. You gotta charge something for that.
Because Jesus, you ain't no capitalist. Oh wait, Phyllis Brown. Here's Phyllis Brown. My critical thinking is far reaching beyond acquiescing to quote unquote get along and photo ops. I analyze, question, evaluate, and challenge differently from general consensus. I don't take pictures with the enemy. Amen. And a woman. Amen. and a woman. And I do think that that is what the challenge is. So the question at the very beginning, I was using Katie French to lead us into Have You Heard? And she is talking about Jesus. And because there are so many of us living in the South in particular, the South has the largest concentration of people who call themselves Christian, who are followers of Jesus. And we live in a Christocentric world where if we're going to celebrate, we're going to make sure that we spend money from the government. We spend tax dollars to decorate the Capitol for Christmas, but we don't want to do anything for Ramadan. So we are a Christocentric country. And so when you ask the question, have you heard? Okay, if you want to talk about that with Jesus, that's fine. But can you have that same amount of zeal when you're asking people, have you heard that there is a website, forarkids.org, where you can go and sign the petition to get this on the ballot so that we can have a better opportunity for our children to be educated properly and not be talking about this indoctrination that they claim that they are fighting against, when really that is what they are purporting. We want to know, have you heard that Denise is going to be at Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing today at 10:30 so that you can sign the Arkansas Abortion Amendment so that we can put it on the ballot for the people to decide to have their own bodily autonomy as it relates to their reproductive health? Have you heard that you got governors in Arkansas and in Texas who are doing things to suppress your vote, who are doing things to undermine your existence, who are doing things to blatantly tell you that you do not matter, and yet you got folks that look like you cheesing with them. You got, have you heard there's folks that look like you talking about they're gonna vote for Donald Trump? Can you get excited enough to ask somebody about those things and let that spirit come through so that we can make a difference in the world in which we're living in? Have you heard about that? That becomes the ultimate question. What have you heard about? Talk about Jesus if you want to, but can you talk about something else? Because there are other things that absolutely matter, something else that's going on in our midst. Zach, have you seen Unlocked?
I've seen parts of it. I haven't finished it, so I can't speak to the whole series. I have started watching it and plan to finish it. I'd like to be up to speed. It's an
8-episode documentary.
And
Sheriff Eric Higgins.
And have certainly followed along with the drama from the legislature around this, but have not finished all 8 episodes.
Well, this is the part that it's streaming on Netflix for those of you who want to watch it. I'm not saying watch it or not. If you want to watch it, if you don't want to watch it, I watched it and I would be more than happy to have a conversation about it. But here's the part that I want to talk about. Republican state legislators and Pulaski County Judge Barry Hyde showed their disdain for Pulaski County Sheriff Eric Higgins when they held a quote-unquote hearing in Little Rock concerning the Netflix docuseries Unlocked. Sheriff Higgins displayed candor, intellectual honesty, and professional competence during the exercise. His interlocutors, look at him, interlocutors, and the people that are in this conversation, and County Judge Hyde showed their disregard for those virtues, plus colossal hypocrisy concerning public safety. Arkansas state legislators did not hold a hearing after the public learned that the Washington County Sheriff had detainees injected with a veterinary drug administered to horses and falsely claimed that the drug would protect the detainees from contracting COVID. So Eric Higgins is talking about there are ways that we can be in community differently with the people who are incarcerated. You want to have a hearing about that, but somebody who injected a veterinary drug into humans, talking about we want to keep them from catching COVID, that you don't want to have a hearing about. Now, what is the difference between these two men? Well, Eric Higgins, ain't he black? The other man, is he not? Is he black?
He's very black.
And so when we talk about, sometimes people want to say racism, we live in a post-racial society. That is absolutely not true at all. Race matters. Have you heard about racism? Have you heard about what it's doing to us? Have you heard about how you are complicit in it? Have you heard about that you are, you have the power in your hands to dismantle that system? Have you heard about that? That's what I want to know. That's what I want us to talk about. Talk about something else. Yes, I'm not saying don't talk about your Jesus, but please talk about something else. Now, Zach, I'm not used to being in here on Saturday mornings. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Like, are we late?
No, we got a few minutes. We're nearing the end, but our friends at Heartbeat of the Nation are coming up next, and so as we always say, Coochie's in the house. Give them a word, and we about out of time, but don't touch that dial because more KABF coming up your way. Denise, we do have a few minutes though. What do you want to leave the people with today?
That's my question to you. I feel like I've been talking more than you. I want to make sure I give you space and give you room to honor you in this.
Well, I appreciate that, and I really appreciate you being here with us today, filling in for Judge Griffen, who couldn't be with us this morning.
Yeah, he's practicing for his bike ride.
He's practicing for his bike ride. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you being here for this great conversation. I want to remind folks one more time where they can meet you to sign this petition.
Yes, I'll be at Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing. Garbo Hearn is allowing me, thank you, he's giving up that space for me, giving me room in that space at 1001 Wright Avenue, right here, 72206. And I also want to remind you that you can go to ARKids.org. So this, for AR Kids, FORARKIDS.org, so that you can find a place to sign the petition to put it on the ballot for our counter to the Learns Act.
And you're there at 10:30.
I'll be there at 10:30.
Okay, so maybe you're in your car now and you're close. You're like, I'm early. Well, just pull in, buy your book, wait for Denise to show up.
Yeah, I might even play a little bit on the piano in between signs. We'll see. That's it. Zach, you have anything else?
I think that's all for me. But keep those feet in the street and
keep those feet in the street.
Keep on resisting. We got work to do, y'all.
We got work to do. Thank you so much for joining us for the Beauty and the Barber Shop right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. If we want to live in a world that is more just, if we want to live in a world that's more equitable, more inclusive, more peaceful, we have got to learn how to live and love differently. Stay tuned. We got more coming up for you. So who you say in the house? Coochie in the house.
Yeah, Heartbeat of the Nation coming up next.
Heartbeat of the Nation. Stay right there. Don't touch that dial. We'll see you next time. What you need me to do for you?